So please, if you have questions, they're really welcome.
Sure, thanks, Mark. That's really impressive work, and I think it's probably the most automated management system anyone's got. We do some work locally that's got some automated scripts and so on, but James could probably cover that a bit briefly. It's nowhere near as comprehensive as this yet. One thing that we do in our own hosting quite a bit is work with modifications and customizations, not just to the layout, but also to some of the code. And we've recently, well, the last couple of years, I would say, we've moved over to hosting using Git. And I think probably the integration with Git wouldn't be that much work to do with this, just so that the installation processes use a Git checkout and so on. But that would probably be the best of both worlds. And I think we could probably look at putting some time into reconciling our own scripts with this kind of approach, so that the both are combined together. A couple of things I want to mention. File permissions. Could you briefly mention how you've done file permissions? I think you're using mod PHP for your hosting. Is that correct?
At this moment, all the code. Let me go there. One second. Here. When you install the code, we are asking for OGS user, because everything is at home, OGS, and W data. And the permissions are quite a little bit too much permissive, maybe. Perms.
We use a FastCGI environment in which there's a different user for each journal, and partially that's because we sometimes give out secure shell accounts to allow people to modify their own installs. So for us, using mod PHP is prohibitive because we can't trust that all modifications will be done with the same kind of coding standards. I'd have to do some brainstorming to see how we could integrate this with a set UID environment, such as FastCGI, but it should be possible, certainly.
Yes, it is. Not in the installation that we are running now, because it's a very controlled context, and I'm quite the only person that is putting the hands there. But the structure and the model is able to let different users work in different magazines at the same time, have different permissions, and work with SUSEC, for instance. It could work. I am completely sure that it could work.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I'm also wondering about recommended patches. Something we've noticed internally, we've had a few people comment on this on the forums too, is that since the OJS 2.4.2 release came out, it's been quite a while, and just because the stats work we were doing has turned out to be longer than we thought it was going to be, more complicated as well. So where we usually would have released an interim release just to cover all those recommended patches that we're building up, we've been waiting to polish off the OJS 2.4.3 release and send it out there. In the meantime, though, that means that there's quite a long list of recommended patches that that people should be using. And we don't really have a way beyond just referring them to the patches list for managing those patches. I'm wondering how you've managed those, and whether you think it would be maybe something that we could build into our own upgrade scripts, or either that or into the structure you've outlined here.
Mm-hmm. I was quite confident that this is something that I will be able to fix someday over the tools that you introduce in OGS. I mean, new sites. Yeah. Do you mean this, Alec?
I'm just squinting. I've got my display crunched down to a small size because my laptop tends to overheat, but it looks like, yeah, that's the built-in upgrade. That's just for release-to-release upgrades. I'm thinking more about the recommended patches that we release to fix each individual issue that comes out between releases of the software.
Mm-hmm.
Alec, I wonder if we integrate Git into this the way that we have it now, we could probably use like the cherry pick option effectively, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That would be. I think I almost see three different solutions for this. One would be maybe that our tools here would allow for an easy download of recommended patches from the website. Maybe if we're supporting a Git environment specifically, then we should look at some tools to support that as well. And then this is a third level where we've got potentially symbolic linked content. And the reason I'm trying to differentiate between solutions for typical users for users of this kind of system is that this one requires symbolic links. The problem is that the patch tool doesn't know it's dealing with symbolic links, and so when we used to do symbolic link hosting in a much less complicated and thorough way than this, we used to have a symbolic link to the libpkp subdirectory where the PKP library was shared between different installations. And if you're not careful when you do that, if you apply a patch file in which there's parts of it for the main OJS install and parts of it for the parts in the symbolic link shared directory, patch will go through and apply changes to either not caring whether it's a local file or a symbolic link that it's following. So in that case, the tools have to be aware of symbolic links, but of course OJS itself has to support operating systems where symbolic links aren't an issue. So I'm just trying to think of a way we could broadly address the different user communities without assuming that we're dealing with a Linux OS, for example.
Now I catch you, and you are completely right. The only thing that we can do here is to check the symbolic links before doing the operation.
Having looked at what symbolic links look like on an operating system where they're not supported, it's kind of funny. If you extract a tarball that contains symbolic links, then the content of that link will be a text file. It'll just be a text file with the name of the path to the actual file in it. And in a Unix operating system, the flag on the file that tells it it's a symbolic link instructs the OS to interpret that path and show the file. But on a Windows system, for example, it's just a single line of text in a text file containing the path name. So it's kind of tricky to solve that generally. But I'm digressing now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want James to, I'll put him on the spot in a second to contrast this against what we do. But it looks like you're using this in production, and I also see you've got a link to your GitHub where the script is available. Any caveats to anybody else using this in production, or do you think it's ready for someone to tackle that?
Right now, we are the only institution I know that is working on this. I know that some people it's interested in introduce them in something that they are building, but we are the only ones.
Okay, well, let me state our interest. This looks like a very good thing for us to incorporate in our own practices. We would have to make sure that we're able to do so with Git support being okay, and also our, as I was mentioned before, our set UID environment. But I see no major impediments to that, so we'll definitely be in touch with you about kind of polishing off those last bits and pieces. So if anyone else is on the fence about this, I'd suggest, yeah, it looks like a very good way to manage a lot of installs and decrease the overhead that we know is there. It can be painful to manage a lot of installs.
By the way, Alec, if I catch you, you have been working hard in making integrating Git in your system administration. If you have scripts in this line and you can send them to me to take a look and to see how we can mix all together, would be nice for me.
Yeah, and actually, maybe I can jump in here. So, yeah, Mark, this looks really, really awesome. I'll give you a bit of a background of what our scripts do right now. This is on the hosted side of things. So our environment is a little bit different. We have about 6 different servers right now, all of which have a number of different OJS installs, and each OJS install is in that fastCGI environment with sort of the journal contents in their own home directory. All of those are proxied through a proxy server as well, so it's a little bit more complicated than what you have, what you've shown here, but I think it can be adapted. What we do is we've got a script, just a single script right now that you run, and on the command line you define the journal name that you want, sort of the abbreviation, the branch that you want to check out, I believe, a database password, and that's about it. And then it runs the script, installs the journal on that particular server from Git. So you again, you specify the branch. It's all from Git. So we would typically say OJS 2.4 stable kind of thing, and it takes that branch and installs it. And then we would have to manually go and add sort of an entry into the proxy server, but then you're ready to go. It does a few other automated things to the config file and setting up the proper FastCGI environment and all of that. Our developer Chris McDonald has been working on that and has been working on some of our other environment there to automate that and to automate some of the upgrading and things like that. So what I'm going to do actually is maybe just put him in direct contact with you. I think he'd really like to see this script. I can already sort of envision how we could use this, at least initially, to run some of our sort of, how to put this, we have sort of, I'd say, two different levels of journal where sort of 90% of our journals are not customized at all, and they're running a very stock version of OJS. And they could, you know, the new journals that come in that are like that would be really, really good candidates for this kind of script. And some of our old journals could be moved over to being managed this way. Maybe 10% of our journals, maybe 5%, I'm not exactly sure how many, are extensively customized to the point where it might be difficult to backport to this, but we can worry about that later. But I think, yeah, we would be really interested in sort of contributing back to this to help with some of the Git integration, to help with sort of working with different environments, things like that, anything we can do. So I'll put Chris in contact with you right away.
Great. The point, I think, is that we have different approaches. In my institution, we are interested in keeping quite all the magazines in the same version at the same time, and you are offering a hosting service when each magazine would like to keep a very specific version, and they need to have control over the files, if TP access, th rooted spaces or whatever. I have the suspect that a mixed combination could work fine. The point is that we don't need to have separate installations when the code is exactly the same. And the idea is quite simple, but I think could work fine. Just the only problem is that the one that Alex pointed, that it didn't rise now. I think Alex has been thinking about this during a long time, and this is why we had just the question that he needs to make now. Let me list a couple of days to think about just the point that you pointed here, because I think we will find a solution.
Hi, this is. I just wanted to pipe in too, Mark. This is really excellent. This looks great. I think, you know, basically in our install at CDL, we've sort of worked around a lot of these issues. We're fortunate in that we have a unified sort of look and feel to our installation. For also, like you, we have 50+ journals, but we have one system, so we can more or less use one version of OJS with some customization per journal. But since we're, you know, I basically have control over the whole, all of the installations. I just really go in there, and it's kind of dirty, but it, you know, when certain journals need particular things done, then I can do those customizations. I think for our current 2.x installation, I wouldn't go through moving to this sort of setup, but for our potential upgrade to 3.0, this would really, the availability of something like this really puts my mind at rest in terms of upgrading, because I was really not sure how to tackle making, you know, keeping our customizations that we've made to separate journals. Just replicating that was really a nightmare. So I would definitely be interested in, once it's sort of tweaked for 3.0, or even helping you with the, you know, like being a guinea pig for using this for 3.0, for upgrading to 3.0. Like, we also make heavy use of of Git and GitHub for our customization, so I would definitely be interested in that integration. And also, for the customization. So I guess we would, that's that in short. I know we're running over time, so I'll keep it short for now. But just to say, that would be sort of our selfish angle on it. But this is really excellent.
And actually, if I can just back up to sort of the previous comments, Mark, like I was saying, I think 90% of our journals have no customizations whatsoever. And we're in a position now where they have the option to have their own unique install, and that's all well and good, but it's costing us a lot of time to keep them up to date and upgraded and all that stuff, if we even can. So if we can move this to this for the majority of our journals, we have a 3-tier cost plan, our hosting plan. So theoretically, any journal that falls in the basic plan could like default to this kind of thing. If they need customizations, we can do something else. But yeah, no, this looks really great.
Yes, and maybe from my side as well, we also have several journals, and we also use one installation per journal, and also trying to have the same version of OJS everywhere. So it's very good for us too.
Well, I actually have to run. But it sounds like there's much more discussion to be had, and I know Brian at Pitt was very interested in this, Mark. So it's great that you have recorded it. So I think let's keep on talking, and yeah, I don't know, excellent, really amazing. Thank you.
Thanks to you all.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I'm going to suggest that we maybe continue the discussion offline. I know that James has just mentioned a couple of points of contact for us as well. And then we'll continue to update the wiki, perhaps, with some resolutions on the loose threads here that we're covering. But yeah, I'd love to see something formal about us kind of contributing and promoting this as well.
Great. Yeah, great job on the wiki too, Mark.
Yep.
Please, if somebody can take a look to the wiki and review the grammatics and the syntax or whatever, because I am not a native English speaker, as you noticed during the last 45 minutes.
Perfectly intelligible to me. Yeah.
Very much so.
Okay.
Thank you very
thanks,
much.
Mark. And thanks, everybody. And maybe if we have fewer than 10 people next time, we can do this Hangout thing too, because I like seeing everyone's faces. Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Bye.